Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to our second conference here at the Galt House and here in Louisville. If you're new to Louisville, I hope that you will enjoy yourself out in our beautiful city. My name's James Odell. I'm BRMI's medical director, and you'll be seeing a lot of me this weekend. It's because I really don't have any other place to go, but I'm here with you. And no other place I'd rather be, actually. But first off, there's some people that I want to thank, and a lot goes into a conference like this. There's a lot of organization, as you could imagine, but many people have worked very, very hard to make this successful. First, I'd like to thank Michael and Margie Baldwin and for all of your support for BRMI and for the whole biological medicine. Secondly, Patty Rago, who is right there, and she's the lady behind really organizing all this. We have Jane Dolan back there in the white sweater, and Cheryl Radford, who I don't see Cheryl here, but she's also important, Darla Gardner, and Heidi Sullivan, who is our webmaster and designer and videographer. She's back there. So please, at some point, thank them, personally for all of their efforts. They really do an amazing job. We have a little change in the schedule. Jody DeShore, one of our presenters, is not going to be able to be here. She got in a traffic jam at so to speak, at an airport. They kept canceling her flights, and so unfortunately Jody won't be here, but we have some substitutes, some very good substitutes. So Jerry Curatola, one of a renowned biological dentist from New York, he will be here. And also Sergeant Goodchild will present later on at 4 o'clock. So they'll take those positions for Jody. But actually her presentation will later be online, so you won't miss anything if you want to go to our website and see that later on, as will all the presentations. We have many vendors, and we have a little time to spend with the vendors, so please do walk around and introduce yourselves and look and see what's there. Some of these are very unique products and equipment, and so please give them some patronage. Also, we have a massage therapist if you're interested in getting a little quick massage, anywhere from 5 minutes to an hour. We have a yoga practitioner, and she will be here. Her name is Tess Tooker, and she's a very astute yoga practitioner. If you want to do some yoga stretches, then you could find her. And we have the book lounge next door, and of course there's many restaurants here in Louisville to look at, but some very nearby, and I think you might have a listing in your little flyers of all the different restaurants that are here. This is really our purpose here, is to provide a global network of practitioners, clinics, and organizations around the world to share information, research, and their most effective healthcare approaches. That is what we're about. We're purely educational. We are non-commercial. If you look at our website, you'd see that there's no pop-ups, there's no commercials, we're not selling anything, and it's all for free. And so as a not-for-profit organization, we want to make this available to the public and to practitioners and really network as much as we can globally. But that is our purpose. And in doing this, we've designed a website which is like a library or an archive of information. If you have never gone there, I encourage you to do so and spend a little time looking at it. It's pretty easy to navigate, and there's a lot of information there, but we're wanting to add more and more information as time goes on. And so if you have any articles or anything that you would like to share, please send them to me, and I will absolutely get them posted onto our website. We also went to Baden-Baden last year, to Medicine Week in Baden-Baden. It was their 51st conference of biological medicine there in Germany, in Baden-Baden. And we did a lot of film footage of doctors and vendors there. And that's all on YouTube and also on our website. So if you went BRMI on YouTube, you would find us there. And there's some very interesting videos and interviews for you to watch. We've created what we call an e-journal, which is like a newsletter that is also online. And we now have about 8 e-journals. And so again, a call for articles here. If you would like to publish something online in one of our e-journals, I encourage you to do so. We'd really like to have more information. It's just been primarily me that's been putting this information out there, but I really want to get more participation from everyone. And it doesn't matter as long as it fits into our theme of enhancing the body and helping the body self-heal. That's really what bioregulatory medicine is all about. There's also other activities. Dr. Dixon Tom has a webinar, and he's going to be presenting another webinar. He has a webinar series every month, and he'll be presenting another webinar on the immune system, and that's on May 24th at 7 p.m. So it's on a Thursday. And so if you could catch that, I think that you would really enjoy those webinars by Dick. Next, I'm going to talk a little bit about, just briefly about our tour to Baden-Baden. We're planning a tour this coming late October, early November to Medicine Week in Baden-Baden, and Sharon Stills and Kimchi Moyer are going to be hosting this. And this tour is all about learning more about bioregulatory medicine from its home place there in Germany. And this conference has been going on for over 50 years. That it's again October the 30th through November the 5th. It'll be its 52nd conference. It's a 5-day conference, but there'll be other tours to elsewhere, to castles and to other very interesting laboratories and things like this. But it's really for everyone. It's for open to practitioners as well as the public. We're going to allow up to 30 people. So if you're interested in that, we'll be staying at this Atlantic Park Hotel, and all meals are included. Also the entrance fee to the Medicine Week. Most of it is in German, I will say, but there is also English lectures, and we're employing doctors to come to the hotel and also give us personal lectures too, as a group. There's going to be, of course, Baden-Baden is a spa city, and there's Caracalla and there's Frederiksbad, which are amazing spas. I'll show you pictures here in a second, and we'll be visiting them, of course, and also going to some clinics in the Black Forest. There'll be a certificate reception at this castle, and of course all the transportation is provided there. This is where Baden-Baden is. It's in the southwestern part of Germany, and right near the Black Forest and the Rhine Valley. And a beautiful area. This is a fall season, and the leaves are changing. It's just lovely. There's a little river that runs through it. It's called the Oats River that runs through Baden-Baden. This is the Rhine here, though. I'll show you that. And the Rhine Valley is mostly a lot of wine country, so the rolling hills and just lovely countryside. You can see it. I'm going to flip through this pretty quick because I don't want to waste too much time here, but I just wanted to show you this. We do have a booth out there that will explain more if you're interested in learning more about this. This is this town of Baden-Baden. It's, again, an ancient spa city. You can see it. Easy to walk around. This is the Atlantic Park Hotel where we will be staying. Lovely hotel. Again, it's right on the Oats River. And rooms are gorgeous. The whole hotel is just lovely. This is the Congress Haus where the Medicine Week takes place. And It's a beautiful modern building. It's 4 stories. And they usually have over 300 vendors. So if you can imagine, you could just walk around from vendor to vendor, and you could learn so much just from the vendors. This is right outside. They have fountains, and there's parks everywhere all throughout the city. Many restaurants. And this is an apothecary, and this is a good place to buy your remedies when you can't get them some other way. You go there and you carry them back, yes? And so you can get all kinds of really yummy remedies here. And many, many restaurants. This is Frederiksbad, one of the oldest spas in Europe. And it's a Roman Gaelic bathhouse. And they separate the men and the women, but on certain days it's also joined. So just let you know, that's the way this works here in Germany. So that people enjoy themselves in these thermal baths of the mineral waters. There's numerous springs that come out of the mountains there, and they trap the waters into these pools. There's also Caracalla. This is more family-oriented with bathing suits for those that want to do that. And it's also very, very lovely, inside and outside. There's the Kurhaus. This is a big building that has many things inside, ballrooms and restaurants, as well as casino. This is the oldest casino in Europe, very James Bondish of sorts, and interesting place. And mostly roulette. They have nightclubs, of course, and many wonderful cafes and places to shop. But they also have one of the oldest opera houses in Europe, and the theaters. This is the castle where we'll be visiting. It's a moated castle. And they grow wine there and have for centuries and centuries. This is a 12th century castle. So for a long, long time, they've produced wine, and they have their own vintages of wine. But this is, again, it could save the date. It's from the 30th until the 5th of November. So a moment, we're switching over here to the presentation. In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act, yes? And so we're all revolutionaries, yes? I think so. I think that there is a lot of hidden information out there that we're trying to uncover, but we think of ourselves as evidence-based, and this is what we're really trying to achieve, is to show biological medicine in its rightful way in an evidence-based format. I'm going to be talking a little about understanding the bioregulatory matrix and its detoxification today. We're going to be talking a lot about the matrix. And this whole idea of terrain theory was kind of initiated by Claude Bernard and later was built upon by Antoine Béchamp. And they believe that the terrain, or the internal environment of the body, determines our state of health. Well, this is not such a far-reaching idea, but this was at the time of Pasteur. And Pasteur says germs cause illness. And here Béchamp was just in opposition to saying, no, it's the environment. It's the internal environment that allows the germs to propagate, or that changes the germs in a pleomorphic way. So he was one of the first people to actually talk about pleomorphic bacteria and pleomorphic forms. But they believe that the internal environment determines our state of health. So you're going to be hearing a lot about that and how to change our internal environment in order to improve our health. So a healthy biological terrain is when the body is functioning in homeostasis and and immunity and detoxification is operating efficiently, pathogenic microorganisms are less likely to cause infection. This is Claude Bernard. The bioregulatory terrain determines susceptibility to illness. But we also think this isn't just a physical cellular mechanism. We're also looking at the energetics of it. So we know that this is both physical and non-physical. We think of the biological terrain as physical and non-physical. Of course, this is translated. He wrote in French, but this is what Claude Bernard said, is when the quality of the milieu, internal milieu, is just right, the blood and the lymph flow freely, rich in nutrients and oxygen, and free of unwanted substances or toxins. The red cells float freely, and so too do the white cells of the immune system, vigorous and efficiently. When this ideal condition is achieved, all the organs of the body harmonize and everything works in the way that it should. So the internal milieu generally refers to the extracellular environment and its physiological capacity to ensure protective stability for the tissues, organs of the body. We're going to be talking about the matrix, both the external cellular and internal cellular matrix. The extracellular matrix, ECM, we call it, is a major component of the biological environment which cells interact and plays important roles in both normal development and disease progress. The extracellular matrix is the non-cellular component, so it's outside the cells, present within all tissues and organs, and provides not only an essential physical scaffolding for the cellular constituents, but also initiates crucial biochemical, biomechanical, and energetic processes that are required for tissue regeneration, cellular communication, detoxification, and homeostasis. The prerequisite for the cell's long life is a regular renewal of the extracellular fluid. So we now know, of course, the body's about 2/3 water. Content is inside the cell, and about 1/3 is outside the cell. This water is in constant movement, and the extracellular body water is renewed every 9 days. Water is the life force of the matrix. And different tissues contain different amounts of water, of course, fat less and plasma more. Here's a little schematic of it. As you can see, the eyes have the most fluid, the most water. A very easy way to test if you're dehydrated is if your eyes hurt and you just push on your eyes and they're sore. It's because they're dehydrated. There's other ways, but most of my patients are dehydrated. A lot of times I will test them in different ways and find that this is just a chronic issue of dehydration. And so we're trying to improve hydration, improve electrolytic balance in order for the extracellular matrix to function normally. So the water in the human body acts as a building material. It acts as a solvent, as a reactive medium and reactant, as a carrier for nutrients and waste products, and in thermoregulation to kind of help cool us, of course, and as a lubricant and shock absorber. Calculating hydration needs. There's different formulas that people have. This is one such formula. You take your weight and you divide it by 2, and that's the ounces of water that you need to consume. And for most adults, it's usually 8 glasses of 8 ounces. And you probably have heard this. If you're having activity, you probably need more. And they're important times to drink. When you wake up in the morning, you've just been fasting. It's very important as soon as the feet hit the floor to drink a big glass of water and to try to flush the kidneys out. Also between meals, not so much with meals, right? Because we dilute our digestive juices, our hydrochloric acid. And so we're trying to have most of our water between meals. And also between 2 and 4, in the Chinese calendar of organs, this is the time of the kidneys, between 2 and 4 p.m. And it's a real important time to drink water. And not as much after 6 p.m. because you'd have to wake up in the middle of the night, and that would disturb your sleep. But there's a doctor, Dr. Gerald Pollack, I don't know if you've heard of him, and he's been researching water and he has a new book. It's called The Fourth Phase of Water. And he describes what's called the fourth phase of water, which is the exclusion zone, or simply referred to as structured water. This is his book. I recommend it. As we know that water exists in three different phases. It's as a solid, it's as a liquid, and it's as a gas. But he says there's a fourth phase of water, and that this, according to Dr. Pollack, structured water charges by absorbing radiant energy. Both light waves and infrared waves charge structured water with energy. This is an example of quality of water. It's not just drinking water. Of course, we want to drink quality water. And this is the Hegales method of water crystallization, copper crystallization technique. Here it's showing on the right the very uniquely formed crystals that from spring water, but on the left, tap water has no crystallization. So it's just showing the quality of the water. Here's another example. Spring water, very unique form crystallizations, and whereas tap water doesn't have those crystallizations. So much of the extracellular and intercellular matrix is actually made up of this structured water. Hence, the cell cytoplasm is more like a gel substance than an ordinary aqueous liquid. Essentially, our bodies are made up of a liquid gel charged with photons, an ideal transmitter of information, resonance, and coherence. So information transfer is fundamental to life. Cells have to communicate with each other, and a lot of the ways that they do so is through receptor-based cellular interactions and chemical signaling. We've heard a lot about this, and this is where science is going, but it's also, there's some other events that happen. There's strong evidence that cells communicate via electromagnetic signals. Hence, there's a non-chemical and non-contact communication via light-mediated interaction of cells through the extracellular matrix. All living biological organisms continuously emit radiations of light that form a coherence field of communication. So we're beings of light. Yes, every cell emits photons and communicates with each other through photon energy, through light energy. Photons are usually produced at a rate of dozens per second per square centimeter of cell culture. So a lot of photons there. Humans are bioluminescent from metabolic reactions, but our glow is 1,000 times weaker than the naked eye can register. So we can't really see each other's field, right? And what some people do, maybe they have a special ability to it. But this is not normal. It's to be able to see the light that radiates from us, but we are beings of light. So invisible emissions of quantum waves are spreading out from each of us. At the same time, each of us has waves of every other organism entangled within our own makeup. So not only do we have our own field of energy and our own unique frequencies, but the organisms that are within us, our microbiome organisms, also emit frequencies. And this is how we can detect them. And through electrodermal testing and other ways with their signature frequencies. Biophoton streams consist of short quasi-periodic bursts, which are similar to those used to send binary data over a noisy channel. This explains how cells can detect such low levels of radiation in a noisy environment. Biofields can be viewed as affecting physiological regulatory systems in a manner that complements the more familiar molecular-based mechanisms. So the ECM is crisscrossed with chemical communication and regulatory systems, including neural pathways, lymphatic drainage, hormones, and immune surveillance. There's a lot going on within this matrix, within this extracellular matrix. But also the human biofield also suffices the extracellular matrix, and our cells and comprise an additional rich source of biological information and regulation. So this is why we have to give an understanding and more knowledge base to the energy of the body. It's not just about cell signaling and the physical mechanisms, the biochemical mechanisms. It's also about the energetics of the cells to communicating and the biofield. On our website, we have some very good articles on the biofield, and I encourage you to read some of those and get more familiar with it, because this is the direction that science is going, and particularly physics is going. I don't know about conventional medicine. It's still a little bit lagging behind in Newtonian physics, but there's a lot of good information out there and people that are researching this. So every cell in the body is nourished via the extracellular matrix, and all waste products in cellular metabolism passes through this ground substance. In the extracellular matrix, physically, it's comprised of basically sugars and collagen and glycosaminoglycans and electrolytic solution, as well as lymphatic vessels. Collagens are the main proteins within this matrix. They account for 30% of the total protein of the body, collagen. Maybe some of you take collagen as a supplement in order to strengthen your matrix or your body's connective tissues. But there's different kinds of molecules. We see this, I'm not sure, I don't have a pointer here, but the big things there, they are the collagen fibers, which hold things together. You have the proteoglycan molecules that they sort of absorb the water. And then there's the cell there on the inside, and these interrogans, which communicate from the intercellular matrix to the extracellular matrix. It's just a little bigger picture of it. This is the structure of it. So it provides a scaffolding or structure to the cells. It holds us together. It's a dynamic environment with ongoing cellular communications and a dialogue. It's one continuous interconnected substance, tying together every function and every process in the living body in every other way. There's a very good book by Alfred Pissinger that was written a few years back. It's called The Extracellular Matrix and Ground Regulation. It's a very good Bible for this type of information. I highly encourage you to consider getting this book if this is something that you're interested in. But I do think it's, as it says, it's a basis for holistic biological medicine. So it's just, the ground substance, the extracellular matrix, is a very important part of what we're talking about when we're talking about cellular communication, energy, medicine, as well as detoxification. So some of the qualities, that there's a strong negative charge within the matrix, and this negative charge attracts molecules, particularly sodium and potassium and water. It mobilizes molecules secreted from cells and to cells, provides a reservoir for proteins and nutrients for later use. So it can hold nutrients for the cells for later on, kind of like a bank depository. It acts also as a depository for waste and toxins that are not eliminated by the lymphatics. So this is where toxins go when they're not eliminated from the body. They get stored within the matrix. And as we'll see through the ideas of Houma Toxicology, that eventually, if the matrix becomes so intoxicated, then of course the cells can't communicate, the cells can't function, and these toxins start to enter into the cell and destroy the structures of the cell. They impregnate the cell. Another quality is that it protects proteins from proteolytic degradation and free radical activity. Each tissue is unique. It has its own extracellular matrix with its composition that is generated during tissue development through a dynamic, reciprocal, biochemical, and biophysical dialogue between the various cellular components and evolving cellular and protein environment. So the liver extracellular matrix, quite different than the heart or quite different than the bone. So they all have a unique matrix. But they're very good at absorbing water. Again, back to the hydration issue. It's so important for not only just general health, but for detoxification. You cannot detoxify if you're dehydrated. It's rather like a sponge, such that 90% of the extracellular matrix is made up of water. There's also proteins and phosphates that are negatively charged, and they attract the sodium and potassium and water into the matrix to hold it there. And collagen, I've mentioned that it's 30% of the total protein of the body. It's a very important part of the matrix to hold the body together. Collagen becomes corrupted from different types of substances, some kinds of medications, particularly certain types of antibiotics are very destructive to the collagen, which we'll be talking about a little shortly. But it's concentrated in the matrix and it's synthesized primarily by fibroblasts. The collagen is comprised of various amino acids. Among them, the amino acids which comprise collagen, glycine is by far the most abundant. And a lot of those bodybuilding formulas, if you look at what's the secret ingredient in these bodybuilding formulas, usually it's glycine. That's the kind of one of the main ingredients. This just shows the attachment of from the intercellular to the extracellular. There's a lot of research going on in intercellular, extracellular matrix communication. And I'm going to move along. I'm going to talk a little bit about terrain disturbances. What really disturbs the terrain? Well, of course, psycho-emotional stress. So Dr. Tom is going to tell us how stress can be a positive thing, and so I think that this is also an important topic. But many people have shocks or events in their past that actually get embedded within their tissues, that memory is embedded within the matrix and can cause disruption of the biochemical processes. Structural impairments, of course, biochemical imbalances. Biochemical imbalances would be like hormonal imbalances or other types of nutritional imbalances. Organ gland dysfunctions, imbalanced microbiome. That's a very common one. Many people's intestinal microbiome is very corrupted, or their oral microbiome is very corrupted. Terrain imbalances, genomic polymorphisms, nutritional deficiencies, toxicity, environmental toxicity, accumulation of metabolic waste, just the body's own intrinsic toxins get embedded within the tissues, ionizing and non-ionizing radiation, foci and interference field. A foci would be like something dead, like a diseased tooth, a root canal treated tooth, or a tonsil that has not been removed and is corrupted, or a toxic appendix. Could be also a scar. But these cause interference within the energetic pathways of the body. And in geopathy has to do with the earth and its own field, its own biofield, and certain areas of the earth, as you have heard, are conducive to health, whereas certain areas are not conducive. We call that, it's a very ancient idea of geopathy or geopathic currents. So these are just a few. That's certainly not all of the different types of disturbances that you can get. But it's important as in bioregulatory medicine to identify these disturbances. You know, what really is causing the problem, getting down to the root causes. So extracellular matrix toxicity leads to dysregulation, and dysregulated extracellular matrices are common in most all diseases. Any kind of disease, you're going to be in some way or another working with the matrix and rehabbing the matrix. Trying to improve the outcome of diseases. So it's really truly within the extracellular matrix that healing begins. This is just showing how toxins get embedded within the matrix. So you get a deposition of toxins and different types of chemical toxins, antibiotics, and as well as mycotoxins, molds, other various pathogens cause damage to the extracellular matrix through the activation of various metalloproteinases or activation of inflammatory cytokines. So we get inflammation in the matrix, yes? Am I going too fast here? No? Good. Some of us do microscopy, live blood microscopy, and this is a very quick way of kind of assessing the matrix and assessing the body's health. Here on the left, you'll see red cells in that little shiny thing in the center. That's a white cell. And you can see how they're nicely spread out. They're not jammed up. The cells are normal size, normal shape. Their membranes look good. They have good fluidity within the live blood. Or even down below that, you can see a little more up close. This is a little neutrophil in the center smiling, and you can see a smile. And up on the other side, on the right side, we see it's more corrupted. The cells are stuck together. They don't have voltage. They've lost their voltage. So every cell has a voltage that's positively charged at its membrane. And positive, as you know, repels each other. And so this is showing that there's a cellular voltage problem, that it's weak. And so the cells start sticking together. You get agglutination of your red cells. The cells have to be single file when they go through a capillary, and so they can't really squeeze through the capillary to deliver oxygen well, so the person becomes oxygen deprived at a cellular level. And the cells eventually become degenerative, where they're just not functional. Of course, we're talking about blood here, but the same thing, the blood is really the life of the body, the blood and the lymph. But we can assess the body in this very simple way through just a finger prick, looking at the live blood in a qualitative way. So most of the time we're just drawing blood, send it off to a lab. We look at the red cells, the white cells. We're looking at the quantitative measurement, how many white cells, how many red cells. But here we're looking at the quality of the blood. And it really gives us a lot of very good information in a short amount of time. Moving on to Houma Toxicology. This was devised by a man named Hans Heinrich Reckewig. And he referred to the body toxins as homotoxins. And that he created this system of Houma Toxicology, which views symptoms of disease our body's defense mechanisms working against toxic substances. So symptoms are not something to be suppressed. Symptoms are something to be acknowledged and to be worked with. That's the body's attempt to rid itself of toxins. In 1955, Reckewig published 6-phase table of homotoxicosis that represents the body's ability to regulate toxins. They've now revised this 6-phase table as the disease evolution table. We have this online. This is it's too small to see, but you can download it from our website, the disease evolution table. This is what it basically describes. These are the states of regulation and dysregulation. The first stage is excretion. Our bodies are trying to excrete toxins. Of course, we do so. We excrete it through our lungs. We excrete it through our bowels, through our skin, through our urinary tract. We're ridding our body of toxins in this way. However, if the toxins aren't excreted and through normal pathways, a person becomes constipated or they have a problem with excretion of toxins. Many people are poor detoxifiers. Then the body goes into an inflammatory mode. And inflammation is like a reaction mechanism to break down toxins. And if the inflammation is suppressed, if the toxins aren't eliminated, if a person is not put on a regime of cleansing the body with whatever, maybe sauna, maybe supplements, maybe diet, maybe colon hydrotherapy, maybe lymphatic drainage, whatever, if this doesn't happen and they're suppressed, the inflammation is suppressed like with steroids, then what happens, the body's toxins get deposited within the extracellular matrix. And again, this is a depository for toxins. Over time, those toxins accumulate and this starts to impregnate the cell. So the toxins get into the cell where they disturb the oxidative processes and the genetic processes of the cell, and the cells die, they get degenerative. So this is the idea of why do people get degenerative? Why do I have arthritis? It's of course, it's a toxification of the extracellular matrix, and we view it in this way, and there's ways to reverse this. Differentiation means cancer. It can also, it may not become degenerative, but the cells might to start abnormally forming or growing, and so this is also a very late stage of toxification. So the deposit of toxins leads to impregnation of the cell, damage to cellular membranes and internal cellular structures. We create this word vicariation. A progressive vicariation would mean that it's getting worse, whereas a regressive vicariation means that it's a progression to the left, that we're detoxifying the body and that they could go revert back into normal elimination of toxins. So there's many things that can cause toxins. We have electrosmog, toxic metal, biotoxins, pesticides, herbicides, certain medications are all potentially harmful to the extracellular matrix and the cells. We often use binding agents to bind these toxins. They may be useful in prevention of reabsorption of the toxins from the gut in the enterohepatic circulation. This just is a little schematic of all the different environmental toxins that are out there, and it's a wonder how we live at all. But, as I mentioned, I want to throw this in there because, I was talking a little bit about biophotons and how the cells communicate with, from cell to cell using signaling, using energetic signaling. Well, if we're surrounded by electrosmog, that influences the cell's ability to communicate in an electromagnetic signal. That electromagnetic influences affects the cell's electromagnetics. And this is why that electrosmog and so many different types of Wi-Fis and things like this are dangerous to us. It's because it interferes with cell signaling. And it interferes with communication in the body. It confuses the body. So most common sources of wireless electrosmog are your cordless phones, the cordless baby alarms, mobile cellular phones, towers, transmitters. Of course, there's towers everywhere, right? It's just everywhere now, and more towers. Mobile cellular phones, wireless networks. I always unplug mine at night, and it's good to unplug your Wi-Fi at night. So if you're not going to be able to completely get away from it unless you maybe live in Arizona desert or something, but you can do something to minimize it. And that's as much as possible, minimize it around your sleep space and taking away a lot of the electromagnetic influences from where you sleep. We also know that toxic metals, heavy metals, are an important part of toxification, and that there's ways to try to detoxify this. This is a urine test, and you can see this person, the mercury load is very high in urine. Urine tests are still kind of a gold standard for looking at toxic metals. We could give a challenge, some type of sulfur substance to the body, and then collect the urine for 24 hours, and then look at what comes out. And labs are very good at measuring this. This is Great Plains Lab. We also, one of the most important things that we do when we're trying to detoxify the body, the first and most important thing, is not only hydrating the body and providing electrolytic substances like magnesium and potassium to charge up the cells and charge up the matrix, but also providing lymphatic support. And there's many different ways of doing this. Just moving our body, of course, it moves the lymphatics. Swinging our arms when we're walking, moving around. This is how the lymphatics work. They're under the influence of movement. But there's other types of lymphatic drainage like lymph stars and lymphatic drainage tools that are amazingly wonderful. We also have a whole bunch of homeopathics that are very good at draining the lymph. We have Lymphomyosote by Heal. Heal pulled out of the United States, maybe you know this, but you could still get these products. Lymphinus by Nessman, Iteris by Pecana, that's a spagyric, Lymphatic by Soluna, Lymphidin by Hebert, Lymphodiaril by Pasco, and of course Unda has several types of lymph drainage remedies. If you've never used any of these, I suggest it's useful to have some in your repertoire so that you could test them for patients and try different ones. Sometimes one will work for a while and then it stops working. So you want to keep moving it around, trying different things to drain the lymphatics. But these are some useful homeopathic remedies. Of course, there's also a lot of herbal remedies too. I also like to use algae. And algae, the brown and the green algae, they possess a wide range of cellular mechanisms involved in detoxification, particularly of heavy metals. The alginates can bind to the metal, so it's a binding agent, and to help the body eliminate it. And so they basically sequester the metals in the extracellular matrix, and it reduces their bioavailability to the cell. One of the ones I really like is Laminaria japonica. It's a type of brown algae, and you could find it. There's a company that makes they call it Modifilan, M-O-D-I-F-I-L-A-N. But it's a very unique algae. It's not only does it bind to heavy metals like lead, mercury, cadmium, all, but it also has chemicals in it that are anti-cancerous. It enhances phagocytosis, the white cell's ability to gobble up toxins, to become phagocytic. And it also has an anti-hypotensive effect. So for your patients or for people that are hypertensive, it has a hypotensive effect. And it exhibits a strong anticoagulant activity. It's a very useful substance putting people on algae, but I do like this brown algae. There's another one called bladderwrack or fucus, and you can see the little, they call it bladderwrack because they look like little bladders. That's why the way that it's shaped. But it's also, these substances are rich in minerals. They're rich in iodine, calcium, magnesium, potassium, many other kinds of vitamins, and contains even vitamin K. So it also helps for estrogen problems in balancing estrogen. So it's another strategy you can use for people that have an estrogen imbalance or estrogen dominant, whatever. You could use bladderwrack or some of these brown algae to balance their estrogens out, and even lowering cholesterol levels too. Though cholesterol is usually, again, a compensatory mechanism. The body's just trying to produce maybe more cortisol or more hormones, and that's why it's producing more cholesterol. So you have to consider that we're not just wanting to lower cholesterol. We're wanting to understand why is the body producing cholesterol. This is chlorella. It's a green algae. It's also been very, very studied. There's over the last several years for its unique abilities to do many things, such as detoxify, particularly toxic elements, but also pesticides and healing from radiation exposure. Again, it also helps with high blood pressure, wound healing, enhancement of immune function. There's also cilantro. Maybe you buy this at the grocery store. It's so good for you, eating lots of cilantro. And that's you could get them as fresh and just chop it up and put it on your food or put it in your salad. That's probably one of the best ways to consume it. You could also get it in tinctures as well. This is a little recipe. This will be in your online in your these presentation notes if you not able to copy all this down right now, of course, but you could make this, and it's a pesto, a cilantro pesto. So cilantro and algae is a very good combination for detoxification. Again, thinking about hydration, electrolytes, working with the lymphatics, all of these are very important. The best detoxification, though, is a gradual one, right? A gradual one. So you don't want to push the body too much. What happens is if you push the body too much, you start to detoxify the matrix, but it just gets back into the bloodstream where it circulates, and people have like a Herxheimer reaction, they call it. It's a bad reaction because these toxins just get redeposited in the body because they're not being eliminated fast enough through your eliminative organs. Well, we live in a world of pesticides. And this is what they call the Dirty Dozen. This is the Environmental Working Group. I don't know if you know this company, but they have some great information on pesticides and cosmetics and just all kinds of information about what's toxic and what isn't. You know, what are the safe products to use and what aren't the safe products. But here they're saying these are the most heavily pesticide ridden products. Of course, you have strawberries and lettuce and peaches and apples and pears and such things like this, and grapes. A lot of these are the thin-skinned fruits and vegetables. So these are the ones you want to buy organic, yes? Next, we're going to talk a little bit, or actually probably a lot, about glyphosate, which is an herbicide used to kill weeds. It was sold by Monsanto, and it's first initially marketed as Roundup. And there's now many types of it. There's Roundup, Buccaneer, Razor Pro, and et cetera. There's all types of glyphosate. But we live in a world just full of it, And that they say the U.S. farmers have applied over 383 million more pounds of glyphosate on genetically engineered crops since 1996 than they would likely have applied on non-genetically engineered variety of these crops. So it's genetic engineering is of course increasing the herbicide use. This is just a little table of how much more has been used just within the last decade. It's just exponentially gone up. So it's everywhere. I was trying to find a wine that doesn't have glyphosate in it, and finally I found that some of the Chilean wines, this is just off the, for those wine drinkers out there, some of the Chilean wines are actually free of it. And in Chile, they have a very unique environment, and they don't have to use these types of pesticides. So the organic Chile wines, for those of you that are wine drinkers, are probably some of the best too. Of course, they usually only are cabs, so you're not going to get a variety. Herbicide active ingredients such as glyphosate are never applied alone, but always in their commercial formulations. And these formulations and their excipients are not tested at all or tested extensively. So for example, the adjuvants in pesticides are synergistically toxic with the active ingredient. So these adjuvants are really not tested. We don't know. But we know that Roundup was 125 times more toxic than just simply glyphosate, just because of its excipients. And though they say it's safe, it's commonly believed that Roundup is among the safest pesticides. Despite its reputation, Roundup was by far the most toxic among the herbicides and insecticides tested. This inconsistency between scientific fact and industrial claim may be attributed to huge economic interest, imagine that, which have been found to falsify health risk assessments and delay health policy decisions. None of the industrial safety studies have run for longer than 3 months. Now keep that in mind, because this is a study that was saying these effects only became apparent after 4 months. So it's an independent study examined the effects on rats fed Roundup genetically modified food for their entire lifespan that showed increase in mammary tumors in females as well as kidney and liver damage in the males and shortened the lifespans of both the females and the males, again becoming only apparent after 4 months. So. But basically, the glyphosate disrupts the barrier properties of the intestine and can cause a leaky gut and corrupt the intestine. And that it corrupts the microbiome of the intestine. It is patented as an antimicrobial agent, is what glyphosate is actually patented as, an antimicrobial agent. So it disrupts the gut barrier, and it's a major player in recent epidemic of antibiotic resistance. It also has a central nervous system toxicity, increasing the risk for brain-related toxicities. It creates a magnesium deficiency and toxicity, and manganese deficiency and toxicity. The manganese deficiency, it actually creates a deficiency and an excess. The excess accumulates in the brainstem nuclei, which can cause Parkinson's. And the deficiency, of course, is bad for the body because the body needs manganese. So it disrupts the body's ability to use manganese. And this just explains that manganese deficiency can lead to overexpression of ammonia, glutamate, and many neurological diseases, a reduction of lactobacillus in the gut, a mitochondrial dysfunction associated with manganese superoxide dismutase. So this stuff is very toxic. Of course, one of the other things that it does is it displaces glycine. Now remember, we were talking about how glycine is really important for the collagen. And so this is, the glyphosate tends to accumulate in the extracellular matrix in the collagen, and it incorporates into the collagen and replaces that, and so it corrupts the collagen of the body. And as it does so, the body recognizes the collagen isn't normal. And what does it do? It attacks it. So this can cause an collagen autoimmune disease. This is another class, the isofloxflutol. It's another herbicide that's on the horizon that they're starting to use, even more toxic. It's considered to be a possible human carcinogen. Well, I know I don't have much more time, but I want to talk a little bit about these humic substances, and particularly one it's called Shilajit. Have you ever heard of it? It's an Ayurvedic, a Tibetan formulation, very ancient formulation. They get it out of the mountains. It's this black rock. It's kind of a gooey, gummy rock, and they've been using it for centuries. What they do is they take it and they purify it, they wash it, they filter it, they wash it, they filter it, and over about a month period of time, they come out with this gooey, gummy substance. I have some in my pocket. I'll pass it around, let you all smell it and look at it. But I put it in water and drink it every day, and it's just great stuff. It helps you detoxify. It's high in minerals, and it's really very good for your microbiome of your body. Here, I'm going to pass this to you. You could pass it around. You could open that and smell it. But this is some unique stuff. I mean, there's many companies that make Shilajit. Again, it's a traditional formula. For centuries, they've been using this in Tibet. But we now know that it's a very good detoxifier for not only the gut, but the whole body. So it has many, many benefits to it. And again, this is all very well researched. A lot of research is coming out of India about it. It's something to look into and to maybe consider putting yourself on or considering putting your patients on. Also, there's drugs that are toxic to the extracellular matrix, particularly this class of antibiotics. They can lead to collagen and tendon rupture. You've heard of them, like Cipro and Levaquin. These types of drugs are very damaging to the extracellular matrix, but of course a lot of other drugs are also. There were over 462 pharmaceuticals were withdrawn from the market between 53 and 2013. So we see that, you hear this all the time. There's always these drug commercials on television, and of course some drugs are very important and valuable, but many of them are pulled back because they're testing them on the public, right? And they find out that, oh, whoops, it causes collagen disruption. Lastly, there's a sauna. Can't talk enough about sauna. I'm sure some of the other presenters are going to be talking about detoxification and how to detoxify the body. Basically, again, in a nutshell, we have hydration, electrolytes, eating organically, making sure organs of elimination are functioning, providing lymphatic support, algae and cilantro, humic substances like shilajit, proteolytic enzymes, you can go into that, but enzymes are amazing for detoxification, and sauna and colon hydrotherapy. These are just a few of the many ways that we could help to detoxify the body. But again, detoxification is best as a gradual one. Never give up. That's basically, so. I'm going to open it up for questions for just a few minutes and before our next presenter comes on. Anybody have questions? No? Oh, that's good. Yes.
I used to have a lot of live blood analysis
Mm-hmm.
and dark blood. It changed my life immediately, and I became so personal to see my blood cells and the condition of them. Is that done now? I don't see it around. I don't see microscopists around like they used to be.
Yes, some people still do this, and that they still look at blood, and it's very engaging. I agree with you. She's saying how she had her live blood looked at, and it was so engaging that it's very personal to see your blood there. Most people haven't. Even a lot of doctors haven't seen their blood before. And so you see it and you're looking at it and you get explained to you. It's mainly an educational experience. This is a red cell, this is a white cell, these are platelets, these are bacteria in your blood, whatever. And so as much as anything, it brings you into that personal relationship with your practitioner and a trusting relationship. And then the next time you come, you see your blood, it's become improved, and you think, oh, well, I'm doing really well. So it's a very good verification of what you're doing. But yeah, live blood analysis, I can't say enough about it. It's a wonderful way to engage the patient and get patient compliance because they really do get interested when they see it up close like that. When you're just presenting information like in numbers, sometimes it doesn't mean as much, but the visual is great. Yes, please. There are so many different ways. You know, we often talk about structure, function, energy, psycho-emotional. There's different levels that we could assess the body diagnostically. And so, like an X-ray would be a structural test. A functional test might be something like a challenge to find out if the body's functioning, like a liver detoxification challenge or something like that. An energetic test would be like electrodermal or maybe some other type of energetic testing. In Chinese medicine, there's a lot of different ones. A psycho-emotional evaluation, there's a lot of ways to do that, like a Lucier color test would be a simple psycho-emotional evaluation. But we want to not be solo diagnostics. We don't want to have just one diagnostic to check it all. That's why in bioregulatory medicine we're trying to weave all of these diagnostics together and in a complete whole so that we're able to look at the body in a complete way. Not only just structurally or functionally, but also energetically and psycho-emotionally. So there's a lot of labs out there, and many people use those labs. But I do think that you'll be hearing Kim Chi talk about assessing the matrix through electrodermal screening. And I think that'll be interesting to you. Yes? You could get it online. Yeah, just Shilajit, Google it, And there's some very good Shilajits out there. Yeah. And usually it's just about a chickpea size at the most every day. And you just roll it up a little ball, put it in water, stir it up, drink it. It's great.
One manufacturer of that
Well, there's different ones. I'm not really one to propagate like this is the best one or that's the best one. There's some very good ones out there, actually, and that I will talk with you later about that. I'll find you. One more question. Yes. Using algae to detox what? You know, everything is individual, and you just have to assess the person, how they're responding to that. And so we're all unique. You know, this is why we try to tailor detoxification towards the individual to find out if there's side effects, if there's problems, do we need to slow down, do we need to speed up, what do we need to change? And so it should always be individually tailored. I don't believe in cookbook recipes. This is the best way to detoxify with the A, B, and C. We have to look at it individually. Thank you.